Okay. We left off Yud Beis. The Gemara wanted to say, we're on Yud Beis and Aleph, that seeming this question where Rabbi Yochanan says, Tovs v'achov moksha b'chav l'acherim, that a person seizes property where it's a detriment to another, and it's not a valid seizure, is a machlokas tanoim. We cited a Mishnah, and the Mishnah says regarding payo that a person is not a poor man, and he takes payo on behalf of the poor man. So when he takes the payo, the gleanings on behalf of that one poor man, so he's denying other poor people, right, that payo that he takes. So it's chav lachrini. So does he take possession on behalf of the poor man who represents or not? So it's a machlokes Reb Lezer Chachamim. Reb Lezer says zochabo, zochalo, he is. It's a valid acquisition on behalf of the person who represents. The Chacham say no, it's not, and therefore the payer that he had taken, he has to give to the first ani that he comes upon. He has to give it to him because he cannot represent. So see, what's the machlokas? Do we say schib mokshe chav l'acherim? Could you do something which is beneficial to one where it's a detriment to another? That's what the Gemara wanted to say. So Rav Papa says, Omar Amen, but Tamer Rav Papa, no. That's not necessarily the argument. Dil Maloi, Adkan lo kama Rebbe Lezer hosom. Why does Rebbe Lezer say there that it's considered a valid acquisition? Elob de migu di boy mafkalu lenichse. Bavioni. Right? The one who takes possession of the payer. Why does the payer not have relevance to him? Because he's a man who has more than a certain amount of money. So he's not classified as a poor man. But let's say he would disown what he has. Then what? He has relevance to take possession for himself. And as he's able to take it for himself, rather than taking it for himself, he takes it for a third party. Right? What's the classical case we discussed of Tovas Machal Moksha Chav L'Cherim? You have creditors, and there's only enough to pay one creditor. A third party who's not a creditor, he seizes on behalf of one of the creditors. You have no right to seize. And over there's no circumstance that you could have any relevance to this. Therefore, that's Chav L'Cherim. Here, there's a way he could have relevance to what he's taken. How? If he would disown what he has relevance because he's a poor man. So we're able to say, so since he has relevance to this, because he takes possession of it, rather than take possession for himself, he takes possession for another party, for another ani. That's migu d'zochi l'nafshi zochi l'chavri. Avlochalo, but now a situation, it's not the case. Now, it's interesting. So it would come an interesting game. Let's say you have 3 creditors, there's enough to pay one, and one of the creditors is a wealthy man. And he wants to seize on behalf of another creditor, who's a poor man. Right? You have 3 creditors, 2 are wealthy, 1's poor. And one of the wealthy creditors wants to seize on behalf of the creditor that's poor. See, he'd be able. Would not be chav l'acherim, because you have migud zochen, nav zochen l'chavri. If he would want to seize on his own behalf, he could seize on his own behalf because he's a creditor. Except he feels the plight of the poor creditor. He's seizing on behalf of the poor creditor. No, but it's no different than payer. It's migud zochen nafshei. Since I could have taken for myself, so therefore it's not a detriment I'm taking. I could have denied you in either case. You'd be out of the picture.
So any creditor can come and take it
on behalf of the third creditor.
Right.
But if you're not a creditor, then that's a bona fide chav l'acherim. It's a detriment. There's no way, you have no relevance to the whole story unless you represent the person you're seizing on his behalf.
You could take it anyway.
You could take it in either case.
Right.
So you say it's a detriment to me. In terms of detriment to you, it's irrelevant. Because if I wanted to take it for myself, I could have pushed it out of the picture in either case.
What if this is not? When the creditor was seizes his part and something. He can't do once he seizes.
No. Once he says, then he's a third party.
See, this logic is very difficult for me to grasp, because if we're saying that the rich man, I'm not talking about the creditor now, let's go to the payer. If the rich man can theoretically disown all of his property, therefore he has relevance to it. But if he's not doing that,
Okay.
It's not reality.
Okay, let's discuss it. We originally wanted to say, good point. We originally wanted to say, what's the machlokas? Do we say zchia where it's a chav, where it's a detriment or not? What's the basis for the argument? Let's say there is such an argument. The Gemara Rafab say there's no such argument. But let's say there's such. What is the argument? We have exeris kosev of shlichus. Torah says you could be a shliach. And the rationale of shlichus is what?
You're acting like the...
No. Shlichus is that the question is, when Torah said shlichus, is it even if it's a detriment to a third party or not? That's the argument.
Right.
It's how to interpret what the Torah is saying. Okay? So let's say we say yes.
Yes, what?
We say if it's a detriment, it's a problem. Okay? The question is, in a situation where I could create a situation where it will not be considered a detriment. So that's a gray area. Meaning, let's say I'm a rich man, and I could have relevance to the pay myself by disowning what I have. So even though factually it's a detriment, it is a detriment. But maybe because it's within my grasp to take it for myself, that's not classified as the detriment which Torah says you can't represent another person. We're talking about what the Gzeres HaKosov is. What does the Gzeres HaKosov tolerate, what does it not tolerate? That's the discussion. So even though it's theoretics, it doesn't make a difference. What type of detriment does it have to be which is unacceptable within the context of shlichus? A person who seizes somebody else's debt, well, you're not a creditor? Definitely not. Right? But if you could have relevance to it, Torah says that shlichus could tolerate.
Does the creditor acquire it?
You understand, David?
Does the creditor acquire it when before he gives it to the other creditor?
No.
He's saying the creditor takes it. I'm going to
Immediately, he takes it on behalf of the third party.
I'm not taking it for myself.
That's correct. But because since I could have, so it's not classed as a detriment because I could have actually hurt you in either case. So my taking now is I don't see it as a detriment to you.
Rabbi, are we talking about a self-appointed agent?
Zchia.
We're not talking about someone who does the appointing.
Well, according to Tosa, it does make a difference. Does make a difference.
If
Let's say the
I
poor man would.
appoint-
Let's say the poor man would appoint a rich man
to
to act
take
on
the-
his own behalf.
To take the payout.
According to Tosa, same thing. Whether he direct appointmentship or he chooses to represent him on his own, identically the same.
There's no difference in the case.
No difference.
I would have thought that the poor man has every right to the payout. And he has the power to appoint
Wait a
an
second.
agent.
Wait a second. What is the rationale of Zechia? According to Tosis, we explained this. It's identical because if he would have known, he would have appointed you. So in actuality, the poor man who you're representing did appoint you. It's the exact same thing if the poor man appoints me or he doesn't appoint me. Because we're saying if he would have known, he would have. So how do you assume the position of a shliach? He appointed you. So that's how Tosis understands the principle of Zechia b'tam
On the
shlichus.
other side,
Rashi learns differently.
how does he...
The Torah appoints you to be a shliach.
The Torah appoints.
So that's a whole different story. So in a situation where it's a detriment, Torah will not appoint you. So now we have a discussion. Is this considered a context of detriment, where you could have had relevance to it on a theoretical level? That's what he's saying over here.
Rashi's position seems to me to be more cogent than Tosfot. There is a difference between somebody literally saying, you are my agent, versus the assumption that had he known, he would have
No.
wanted it.
Had he known, he would have appointed me. That's the way it's it. If let's say factually that is the case, he would have. So he appointed me.
No, but he didn't. The fact that
No.
he didn't,
So what if he didn't?
well, it's a big difference. It's a big difference. I mean, the world works that way. If you want something to happen, you have to push a button. You have to push a switch.
If we would say with
As
depth.
much as I want the switch to go on,
No.
if I want it from here to
No.
Timbuktu, it's
I'm
not
acting. No. That's the whole discussion. See, we get back to the original. If you're of the opinion, Yish Lomidas, Havi Yush, that if theoretically you would know that it's in a situation that if you would have known, you would have despair, even though factually you did not despair, do we see it as if you did despair? Right? Rav's position is it's effective, and it becomes ownerless. So the Gemara says, if that's the case, by a shliach would be the same thing. If he would have known that you would have acted in this context, he would have appointed you. It's as if he appointed you. That's the seemingly the argument of Bayarov. That's the Tosas problem with Tosas. He has on Tosas, if he would have known, but factually he doesn't know. So if he does know, how do you become the shliach? Right? Therefore, that's what Tosas explains Rashi differently than Tosas. It's not that he appointed you; the Torah appoints you for that reason. But it's not because of what you're saying. It's not because of what you're saying. It's because he understands it's the same reason why Yush, unless it's actually conscious, it's not effective identically unless you actually directly appoint him. It's not an effective appointmentship. Except we made a differentiation. Because we said a chotzer acquires for a person, although the object that falls in his courtyard is unbeknown to him. He doesn't even know the object fell into his chotzer. Remember, we made a differentiation. But yet, if you find a treasure in a wall, right, even though it's your chotzer, it does not acquire for you. What acquires? Something that's within the realm of possibility. That's the person's mindset. He wants his domain to acquire. Something that's so remote, so far-fetched, it never enters his mind if it doesn't acquire. So similarly, I said, every person's mindset is, if somebody wants to represent me and do something which is beneficial for me, I want that man to be my shliach. That is the mindset. So it's the equivalent of a direct appointmentship. It's similar to the domain acquiring something that falls into your domain. Something which is within the realm of not being remote falls into my domain. That's how we explained it. It's automatic.
According to that, it would be whether it's chav lachrim or not.
No, because then because Torah never said shlichus where it's chav lacherim. Therefore, Torah says even if you were directly appointed, it's not going to be valid.
Could you say if you were calling him that you were hailing Caesar?
Okay.
So are we saying now, Rabbi, if a poor man explicitly says to a rich man, I want you to be my agent and take the pair, with
Rashi says it's valid.
it's valid. But
According to
Tosfot-
everyone,
And Tosfot would say what?
it's not valid.
It's not valid.
Well, it depends. If it would be chav lacherim, it would not be valid. If it would be chav, Rav Papa is saying, this is not considered chav lacherim because the rich man could theoretically make himself into a poor man by disowning everything that he owns.
So therefore he could. So we're not, basically he's coming at this another way.
Right, but if not for that,
We're not-
even the direct appointment could not represent
do
him.
it.
Correct.
couldn't do it.
It's like the creditor. The creditor appoints a man to seize property on his behalf. He could seize it himself, but the shliach cannot seize it. Why? Because the shliach does not represent him. Torah says you can't represent the person if it's a detriment to a third party, if it's a chav to someone else.
But if the shliach is also a creditor,
Then okay,
then he can- so he
that's
can
similar
be
to this.
appointed- He can be appointed to collect, to grab the other people.
He doesn't even have to be appointed.
Right.
Based on just with Schia itself, he's able to seize the property.
But he's only entitled to like his part.
Well, that's true.
So we've always said that the agent is like the person himself. And we see that
Why
it's not
is he like him? Because the Xerxes of Shlichus. Because he's your agent. The agent is like the one who commissions him.
But it's not.
But the Torah says, in this context, you cannot commission an agent. He's not your agent. What about, we had in the Kedusha, an ein shlich with varavera. Person commissions an agent to steal. Right? There's no liability to one who commissions him. Why? Because Torah says, within the context of Avera, you cannot commission an agent. He doesn't represent you. So if he doesn't represent, how could his action be attributed to the one who told him to steal? It's the same thing here. Chav lachem, Torah says, you cannot commission an agent. He doesn't represent you.
Is not stealing.
No, it's the same idea.
There's just
Within
limit-
certain
additional
context.
limitation.
Exactly.
So the man himself has every right to take this action, collecting his debt,
Correct.
taking the pay.
How do we know that?
I
How do we
don't-
know that a creditor can do it himself?
He's owed the money.
It's going to affect other people, so how do we know?
That's bullshit. It's understood.
What's that?
It's understood. You have a right to it.
But you're still going to affect other people.
So what if you can say? I have a right to take what's rightfully mine. You know, I have it's
Getting
first
back-
rights.
Getting back to David's question that the shliach says.
No,
So is that
A shliach, you have to first be a shliach.
right? So if you were saying that he's not considered a shliach.
So if he's not a shliach, you don't you're not him, you're not the person.
In this situation.
You know, there's a question, though, similar, very similar to this. The Gemara says in Bava Basra, you have two documents. It says the date, and it says Reuven sold a piece of property in a certain location on a certain date to Shimon. And you have an identical document saying he sold it to Levi. So what do? Did he sell to Reuven? Did he sell to Shimon? Did he sell to Levi? So there's an argument. Do you say Yachloku? And they've both been authenticated. We're not sure which one. Whoever he gave the document first, you can't determine it. Or the Gemara says in Yerushalayim, because they don't write hours, when does the document take effect? At the end of the day. So both documents took place at the end of the day. But the question is, which one did you really want to sell? Do we say, since they both take effect simultaneously, they divide? It's Yachloku? Or do we say, no, it's Shuda Dedaini? Shuda Dedaini means the court has to figure out which one did he really want to sell it to. That's the way the Rashbam learns. Tosas learns, no. Shuda Dedaini means it's a flip of the coin. Right? You're not sure. You flip a coin, say, heads, it's yours, tails, it's the other person's. That's what Tosas explains it.
That's what Beis Din would actually do.
That's what Beis Din does.
Flip a coin.
It's like flipping coin. They do whatever they want. So Tosas asks, if the halacha is, you're not permitted to bribe a judge. Why? Because it impairs it. He becomes impartial. He loses his impartiality. But over here it has nothing to do with being impartial. Right? If it has nothing to do with evaluation of evidence, it's purely a flip of a coin. So let one of the defendants bribe the judge. Say, give it to me. Right? Because it's not based on any evaluation of evidence over here. That's Tosas' question above Basra. As a Dayan. Yeah, definitely. As a Beis Din. So Tosas answers, Shuda Dedaini is a ruling of a court, of a Beis Din. The Torah says a court that takes bribery is not a court. So if that's the case, the ruling is, if the flipping coin is not a psak of Beis Din. That's Tosas' answer. So here also, if you're a shliach, of course you could seize. Tosas Bava Basra. If you're an agent, of course you could seize. But the Torah says within the context of chav lachninu, you don't represent the man. So what? You're a third party. You have no right to seize something that it's like you're seizing it for yourself.
Rabbi, can a Jew commission a non-Jew to be an agent?
No.
What is that?
Gzeres HaKosov. There's Gzeres HaKosov, the only person who's the equivalent of the one who's commissioned, only if you're a Jew.
But if a Jew, when Abraham Avinu said to his slave, here is a document, here is money, I'm commissioning you to do ABC.
First, the question, was Rivka married immediately? It's not simple.
What is his role? How do we understand it? With the Noahides, how does this work?
First, there's a question, could a goy commission another goy to be an agent? It's just a Jew to a goy, not. But a non-Jew to a non-Jew can't commission to be an agent.
It would work.
It would work. Some learned it works. It's only a non-Jew cannot represent a Jew. Let's say they didn't discuss it. It wasn't legislated, such a thing. If it's legislated, it's legislated, right? But it's not.
So it's not an act at all. A Jew cannot.
Under no circumstance could a non-Jew represent a Jew. Only a power of attorney. But it's not. Let's say in our situation, you want to seize property. That's contrary to the Torah.
But what about under civil law here? It's quite okay. You can hire someone in this country to seize your property. So how does this work? So now there's a
Dina Malchus Dina. No, it's not, because it's Hefker doesn't Hefker. It's Dina Malchus Dina.
Because they could work. So you could hire in this country a collection agency to go after your uncollected debts.
Yeah. Well, the collection agent legally can't collect. The court's not going to give you such a judgment. The court's not giving you a judgment. In a chav lachrini, it's contrary to the Torah. The Beis Din cannot say, we allow you to appoint an agent to seize property. They can't say such a thing. can seize yourself.
So let's suppose now that a Jew hired another Jew to go collect a debt, and this other Jew did it for him, and now it's in the original owner's possession. What would the debt
Now,
be
once
worth?
the owner, it goes into the owner's, the creditor's possession, it's his.
So they wouldn't undo this transaction.
They won't undo. No, definitely
So
not.
they'd recognize the seizure.
No, the one who seized it had no right to seize it. He did something wrong.
He's not a thief.
Right. Well, until he gave it to the creditor, he was a thief. Until he gave it to the creditor, he was a thief.
He stole it from whom?
He stole it from the person who owned it.
But no, the person who didn't do it. No, he never.
Let me ask a question. Before you seize the property that you plan to seize, let's say the debtor would marry a woman with that property. She Mukudeshes. You won't own, at best you have a lien. At best. It's that person's property.
It's stealing from the other creditors, not from the debtor.
No. Even from the creditor. Well, therefore, because there are other creditors, you have no right to steal, to take from the debtor.
So it's stealing from when that.
But right now you're stealing. You steal from the debtor. You're stealing from the debtor. You only have a right to take from the debtor because you represent the creditor. But if you're not able to represent the creditor, you're stealing from the debtor. You're a third party. You have no relevance here. Let's say a person would steal not representing either the creditors. Is he a thief? He's a thief. What right do you have to take?
So if a man,
Right?
I understand, right?
a man borrows 5 pounds of sugar from his neighbor, and he wants to use that sugar to marry a woman, he can do it?
Sure. Of course. Now it's his sugar. You borrowed it. The
But
sugar.
you have to return the sugar.
So you return other sugar, not the same sugar.
All right.
You borrow $1, or you borrow a gold coin.
Because that's replaceable. Now, what happens if he borrows an item that's the exact
Of
item
course,
that's
I borrow your chair.
the chair, right?
I borrow your jewelry, a ring,
Yes.
because I say I want to marry a woman, and he doesn't give it as a maton on maslachzir, which the Gemara discusses. You can't marry the woman. It's another man's ring.
So now, let's take that case. So now, this man refuses to return the ring.
So he's a thief. He's a thief.
I hire an agent to go and seize that
That's
property.
different. No,
What
because
has happened here now?
it has no. It's not this case. Because there, the ring never belonged to the person who's in possession of the ring. Here, the debtor, the money's my money. It's a debt, so I use my money to pay the debt.
So let's take that case now. What actually happens there? Can I hire somebody to go seize it for me?
Definitely.
Because
It's not a
nobody
there's no chavel acherim.
because nobody is being deprived.
Nobody's being deprived there.
I see. I'm just there. That works.
They
Totally
definitely would work.
recognize
Definitely,
that kind of-
definitely.
I see. That's the difference.
Okay? So it has no relevance to the whole discussion. Wait a second. V'adkan lo kamer Rabbanan. The Rabbanan said that the man who takes the pay on behalf of the oni cannot take possession. He must give it to the first poor man that he meets. Correct? So what is that position? So we wanted to say, because they hold, it's chav lachrini. Somebody says no. Adkan lo kamer Rabbanan hosmel l'chsiv lo selakit lo oni. It says you should not gather on behalf of the oni. Lo selakit lo lo-oni. You should, especially Gzer Sakosov. Normally, we say Schib Mokush Chav Lacherim. But when it comes to taking on behalf of an oni, you cannot represent a poor man to deny another poor man. Avalochalo. Okay? So Tosa has a question. That's the third Tosis on the page. You see, Ella dechsiv lo slakit lo-oni. So Tosis, we'll skip the first question, we'll get back to it. The second, Vim Tomer. V'neilchem mihocha balma dami mi mitzil chaver lo kona chavero. Right? If actually the Torah is saying you cannot take on behalf of the poor man. So in essence, what is it saying? You don't say tzchiyah because you're denying someone else an opportunity. So let's learn from here, magbi mitzil chaver lo kona chavero. That if I want to pick up an ownerless item on behalf of an individual, I can't, because by doing that, I'm denying someone else his right, the opportunity to take possession. I mean, the question's a weak question. Why?
Because the person that's picking up is the shliach, has every right to pick it up for himself anyway.
Okay.
and it's not.
No. No, wait, no. It is a chav because you're denying a person the opportunity. If I pick up something on behalf of another person, so that opportunity is being denied to the whole world who had the opportunity.
And they didn't even know about it.
Doesn't make a difference whether you know
That's
about it.
something by payoff.
First come,
So
first
the person
served.
has the right to pick it up for himself.
He's a rich man.
So it's still it's
No, so we're saying the Rabbon, even if you say,
it's a mitzvah.
even
Everyone
if you
has the right
say
to
that he
mitzvah.
could, even
Everyone has
if
right to
you
that.
would say he could disown all that he has.
This is talking about mitzvah. It's not payoff.
No. I understand what I'm saying. We're saying even the Chachomim, they understand the position of Rebbe Lezer, but they say, despite your position that you're able to disown what you have and you can take it yourself, the Torah still says you cannot represent the poor man. That's the Gzeres HaKosov. No, it's all the pasuk. If not for the pasuk, they would concur fully with Rebbe Lezer. Would agree fully. It's only because of the pasuk. So if that's the case, Tosa says. So even though rationally speaking, you should be able to do it, but you can't because so if that's the case, we should derive from this. I mean, right? So, but I'm saying the cases are not analogous one to another. We speak about payo as momen aniyim. Every poor man has an interest in that payo. Right? It's like truma. It's moment kohen. It's moment hashevet. Something that's ownless, no one has an interest. People have rights, but you don't have any intrinsic right in that money. So when does the Torah says you cannot take on behalf of another person? Because when another poor man has an interest, has an intrinsic financial interest in that, there's no financial interest in something that's hefker. So therefore, that case, maybe we would say you could represent someone else. Okay? So the cases are not exactly identical.
There's extra words with pay.
By payo. But
It sets out the exception.
except, so Tosis, if that's the case, mitzio, the owner's object should be similar to payo. Some say that there's a tremendous difference.
There's no special words.
No, not because there's no special words. The case is not the equivalent case. Who does the pay belong to before the poor man takes it? It belongs to all poor people. It belongs to them.
So
Something that's owned belongs to no one. And it doesn't belong to anyone. Everyone has a right. So you deny. But there's more than no. The poor man has more than a right. If we call it momen aniyim. I'll tell you, the Rashbam learns there's a case in Bava Basra, another place. It's called Makiri Kuna. What's the halacha that if a person always gives his truma to one kohen, okay, and now someone goes and that person hadn't yet given it to the kohen, and somebody goes and damages that truma, he's a damager. Why? Because since that truma is always meant to go to that one family, to no one else, we already see the truma as if it's in the possession of that family. So the Rashbam says, what's the rationale? If you would have one kohen in the world, one kohen, who would that truma belong to? It would belong. So if every kohen knows that this family gives it always to that particular kohen, he says they all despair. If they despair from it, it's as if what? They've given up their rights. So it's as if there's only one kohen in the world. Therefore, it's already his. Let's say a person would despair from taking something that's hefker. Does it belong to the one solitary person that's left? No. It's hefker. It's ownerless. There's no intrinsic interest in that, in the ownerless object. So therefore, they're not analogous one to another. They're not similar.
There's a big difference then between the scenario with the creditor and the scenario with the payer. Because the scenario with the payer, you're saying that an individual is taking from the other people who have rights to the payer. And the scenario with the creditor, you're saying that the person who's stealing is stealing from the debtor. So it's not the same thing.
Yeah, but it depends on what's the name. There it depends. If we say shliv, then you're not stealing from the creditor. If you're representing the creditor, you're not stealing from the debtor. It's only if you can't represent the creditor, that's when you become a thief.
Right, because there are other creditors. That's when an individual can represent a creditor.
If the Torah, let's say Torah never said shlichus, period, and you want to seize property from the debtor for the creditor, are you a thief? You're a thief. How do you have a right to take someone else's property? You're not owed the money. The creditor's owed the money. If the Torah says you become his representative,
And it's the same thing by payer, because then no one has that individual doesn't have right to the payer.
right? You have no right to the payer.
Just because the other Kohanim are in despair, that means they give up rights?
They give when you despair,
I
you
feel
don't.
bad, he's getting it, but I don't.
Not you feel bad. It doesn't mean feel bad. Vai l'chsaron kiss. I have no relevance. It's not ever meant to be mine. having that sense of feeling, you lose. You immediately, Torah says, it's as if your rights don't exist any longer.
Just having the feeling you should declare that.
No, well, usually a person declares it. Nobody hears the declaration. It's just the state of reality.
But haven't we learned that there's a concept that one cannot disown there's certain conditions where it springs back. You may disown it, but it springs back. For instance, the talus, the shul talus.
Communal talus.
The communal talus.
Was he still part of the community?
Because I'm still part of the community, so I can disown it all day long, but it still springs back.
That's something else.
How's that different from being a kohen?
If I own truma, I physically own it, and I give it as a gift to another kohen. Do you own it any longer?
If you're a kohen or you're not?
No, I am a kohen. I have my own truma, and I gift it to another person. Is it yours any longer? Even though I'm still a kohen. A kohen doesn't mean say whatever's truma, you own truma. It's based on your monetary interest. You're giving up your monetary interest, you no longer have it. Here, a person says, I want to be part of the community, but I want no interest in it. But it's communal property. If you're part of communal property, that means you have an interest.
It springs back. But here we're talking about truma that's owned by a non-kohen.
Doesn't make difference. But the non-kohen, no, it's not owned by the non-kohen. The truma that's tied by the non-kohen, that truma is classified as, that money belongs to Shevet Kuna, to the tribe of Kohanim. It belongs. That means every kohen has a financial interest in that. I'm giving up my financial interest in that.
And it doesn't spring back.
It doesn't spring, no, right.
At the end of the day, I'm still kohen.
But I've given it up. It can't be any better than if I own something, I give it away. I own truma, I give away my rights.
You can.
See, right.
Give away.
Right.
So if someone gives truma, someone sets aside truma and the client walks in, takes it,
He's not permitted to take it, but if he takes it, he's not a thief. Correct.
doesn't have to give it.
Correct. Okay? V'yesh lomar, dehochas svaru, lo zoch sa Torah lo'oni ela ma shekol echad melakid l'tzorach atzmo. This is the difference. Rav Chisda, yeah, I mean, what does it say more simple like I'm saying? He says, there's a svara, the Torah says, it only becomes the oni what he takes himself. Therefore, you can't represent. You understand? The oni, he's saying something interesting. When the Torah is saying, even the oni has no right to it unless physically he takes possession. So until he takes possession, he can't appoint you to be the agent to take possession on his behalf.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Person has to, let's say, has to pay a fee before he goes through the door. And you hadn't yet paid the fee. And I appoint somebody to go through the door before I pay the fee. Could he go through the door before I pay the fee? No. I don't have the right myself yet. Right. The Torah, it's like mitzvah shebegufo. Only has relevance to it only once he takes possession. So till then, I can't appoint somebody to act on my behalf.
He has to be. He has to be there.
He has to be.
The kohen in China, where the payer is in America.
No, not the kohen. The poor man.
The poor man in China has no relevance to it.
So when the owner, the rich owner, designates that payer for the poor man, that poor man has to...
He doesn't designate it. He doesn't designate it. You leave the Torah designates it.
Yeah.
Torah says payer belongs to the poor people. Seemingly, it's going to be a little difficult from Gemara Mitzvah.